this video is about. The mom drove her kids to school, and a rich stranger smiled from across the lot. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The dawn sunlight spilled over the sleepy town of Willow Creek, painting the rows of modest houses in hues of gold and amber. At the intersection of Maple and Birch, the familiar rattle of an old minivan broke the morning stillness. It was a well-loved vehicle, its scratchy fabric seats and well-worn dashboard covered with remnants of Cheerios, crumpled homework assignments, and a half-empty coffee cup that had been there since last Monday. Inside, Claire Henderson navigated the chaos of morning routines with an ease that came only from years of practice. At the wheel, she wore her responsibilities like a badge, a warm smile playing on her lips despite the chaos unfolding around her. "Are we going to be late again, Mom?" 10-year-old Ethan asked from the back seat, his voice cutting through the morning chatter as he fiddled with the strap of his backpack. "Not if we hurry, buddy," Claire replied, glancing back at him through the rearview mirror. His tousled brown hair and bright green eyes reminded her so much of his father. "Buckle up. We can't have you flying through the windshield like Superman today." "Superman doesn't wear a seatbelt," piped in Mia, her 7-year-old daughter who sat in the middle, clutching a well-loved stuffed unicorn named Sparkle. Her wide eyes, framed by long lashes, sparkled with mischief. "Yeah, but that's because he can fly," Ethan shot back, rolling his eyes. "And even he knows how important it is to be safe." Claire chuckled softly, her heart swelling as she listened to their playful banter. It was these moments, chaotic yet sweet, that made the endless cycle of laundry, grocery shopping, and carpooling worth it. She was the anchor in their lives, and every day she reminded herself that even in the most mundane tasks, she had the power to create little pockets of joy. As the minivan rolled towards Willow Creek Elementary, Claire's mind began to wander, drifting to the bigger picture of her life. Life had changed so dramatically since her husband, David, had passed away 2 years earlier. Claire had mastered the art of balance, juggling work as a part-time graphic designer and the full-time job of motherhood. Yet the weight of loneliness still lingered in the corners of her heart. "Mom, look," Mia exclaimed, pointing out the window. "There's that new coffee shop. Can we go there when we pick up Ethan?" "Sure, sweetie. As long as you promise to help me pick out a pastry," Claire replied, smiling at her daughter's enthusiasm for the promise of a treat. They pulled into the school parking lot, a bustling hub of parents and children, the usual morning chaos descending upon them. Claire parked the minivan, her heart racing in time with the ticking clock on the dashboard. "Okay, time to go. You two out and line up." Ethan was quick to unbuckle, a practiced move that signaled he was ready to race toward his friends. Mia climbed out more slowly, her unicorn clutched tightly to her chest as she surveyed the sea of children that swarmed around the entrance. "Mom, can I take Sparkle inside?" Mia asked, her wide eyes pleading. "Just for today, okay. But you have to make sure to keep a hold of her," Claire said, watching her daughter bounce toward the school, her little legs moving with determination. As she turned to watch Mia run off, Claire felt a sudden flutter of awareness settle in her stomach. Across the parking lot, a tall figure emerged, an unfamiliar presence radiating an air of confidence. He was impeccably dressed in a tailored navy blazer, crisp white shirt, and dark jeans that fit him just right. His hair was tousled yet intentional, the kind of look that seemed effortless but spoke of someone's commitment to style. Claire's breath caught momentarily as his gaze met hers. A charming smile broke across his face, and for a heartbeat, the world around them seemed to fade into a blur. There was something electric about the way he looked at her, as if he could see through the veneer of her busy, chaotic life and glimpsed the woman beneath the mother. "Mom," Ethan's voice jolted her back to reality. "Yeah, buddy," she replied, quickly turning away from the mysterious stranger. "Can you help me find my lunchbox? I think I left it in the van," he said, his brow furrowed with concern. "Of course," Claire responded, focusing on her son. She turned to the passenger seat and rummaged through the clutter, her heart still racing from the brief encounter. The reality of her life crept back in as she fished out the lunchbox, covered in superheroes, and handed it to Ethan. "Thanks, Mom. You're the best," he exclaimed before dashing toward the entrance, joining Mia in the throng of laughing children. With a heavy sigh, Claire leaned against the van, taking a moment to gather her thoughts. What was it about that stranger? She couldn't shake the feeling of being seen, truly seen, for the first time in a long while. She could still feel the warmth of his smile, the way it had lit up his sharp features. "All right, Claire, pull yourself together," she muttered to herself, brushing a stray hair behind her ear. "You're just a mom dropping her kids off." As the noise of the schoolyard rushed around her, she caught another glimpse of the man from earlier. He was now talking animatedly to another parent, a woman with perfectly coiffed hair and designer sunglasses perched atop her head. Claire couldn't help but feel a twinge of jealousy. What did he see in her? But then again, why was she even caring? It had been ages since she had flirted, since anyone had shown interest in her. The last date she had been on was with grief, and it had taken its toll. "Claire!" A voice broke her reverie, and she turned to see Sarah, a fellow mom from the neighborhood, approaching with her toddler in tow. "Hey, Sarah, how's it going?" Claire greeted, forcing a smile as she tried to shake off the moment with the stranger. "Busy, as usual, you know how it is, but I'm excited about the school fair next week. Are you planning to volunteer?" "Of course. I wouldn't miss it," Claire replied, although her mind was still partially caught in that electric moment with the stranger. "I'll probably be stuck at the bake sale booth again." "Perfect, we can bake together. Maybe I can try that new cookie recipe I found," Sarah suggested, her eyes brightening. As they chatted, Claire couldn't help but sneak glances back at the man, who was now laughing with a group of parents, his smile infectious. His eyes crinkled at the corners, and the way he tilted his head back in genuine mirth drew Claire in like a moth to a flame. Suddenly, their eyes met again, and he smiled that same disarming smile. This time, Claire felt a flush creeping up her neck. She quickly turned back to Sarah, trying to play it cool, but the flutter in her stomach was unmistakable. "Who is that guy?" Sarah asked, following Claire's gaze before turning back to her, eyebrows raised. I don't know," Claire stammered, her heart racing again. "I think he's new here." "Oh well, he certainly stands out," Sarah said with a grin. "You should totally go say hi. Maybe he's looking for someone nice to talk to." Claire laughed nervously, but her heart leaped at the thought. She hadn't thought about dating in what felt like an eternity, but suddenly, the prospect didn't seem as daunting. Perhaps a friendly smile could lead to something more. But as quickly as the thought appeared, Claire shoved it aside. "I'm just a mom getting my kids to school," she reminded herself. "I'm not looking for anything." Yet as she watched the man interact with his friends, his laughter filling the air, his charisma undeniable, she couldn't help but wonder if maybe, just maybe, there was a possibility for more. The bell rang sharply, slicing through the chatter of parents and children alike. Claire watched as the last few students shuffled into the building, children calling out to one another, their laughter ringing like chimes in the morning air. Ethan and Mia were already tucked safely inside, leaving her to linger in the parking lot for a moment longer. "See you later, Claire," Sarah called out, waving as she shepherded her toddler toward a nearby car. Claire managed to return the wave, but her gaze was drawn back to the man who had captivated her attention earlier. He stood at the edge of the lot, his tall frame silhouetted against the sunlight, engrossed in conversation with a group of parents. The way he spoke, animatedly gesturing with his hands, made it impossible for Claire to look away. What was it about him? There was a magnetic pull that went beyond mere attraction. He exuded a warmth and energy that felt disarmingly inviting. Claire found herself torn between curiosity and the heavy cloak of her own reality. Wouldn't he be surprised to know that she was just a single mother, trying to manage the chaos of life after loss? As if sensing her gaze, he turned and their eyes locked once again. Her heart raced, a mix of excitement and apprehension swelling inside her. He raised his hand in a casual wave, that engaging smile lighting up his face once more. This is ridiculous," Claire muttered under her breath, shaking her head at herself. She was acting like a schoolgirl with a crush. She had 2 kids to think about, responsibilities that weighed heavily on her. Yet, even as she scolded herself, her pulse quickened at the thought of what it would feel like to approach him. Before she could overthink it further, she took a deep breath and decided why not. After all, what was the worst that could happen? As she walked toward him, the noise of the schoolyard faded, and all she could hear was her own heartbeat. "Hey there," she said, forcing a casual smile as she approached the group. "I'm Claire." "Hi, Claire." He stepped forward, extending his hand. "I'm Jake, just moved here from Atlanta. My son Oliver is in the 3rd grade. Oliver, the name sounded familiar. "Oh, I think Ethan mentioned a new kid in his class. I'm guessing that's your son." Jake nodded, a glimmer of mischief in his eyes. "Yeah, he thinks he's too cool for school right now. You know how it is." Claire couldn't help but laugh. "Oh, I definitely know. Ethan has been in that phase since he learned to roll his eyes." "Such a classic move," Jake replied, chuckling. "You're doing the morning drop-off routine all alone, I see." "Yep, just me and my 2 little monsters," Claire replied, glancing back toward the school entrance where the children had disappeared moments ago. "But I wouldn't trade it for anything." "Same here. It's nice to see another parent navigating this circus. It gets a little overwhelming sometimes, doesn't it?" Jake's tone was light, but there was depth in his eyes, a shared understanding of the challenges that came with parenthood. Claire felt a spark of connection. It really does. Balancing everything can be a full-time job on its own. Exactly. And then you throw in the occasional meltdown about missing snack time, and it's a real juggling act. They both laughed, the tension easing as they discovered common ground. "You seem to have a good grasp on it," Claire said, gesturing toward his blazer. "Nice choice on the attire. It's not easy being a stylish dad at the drop-off zone." Jake grinned, his eyes twinkling with warmth. "Thanks. I figured I'd at least try to look put together for my first week, but I think I may need a little more practice. You should see me in my sweatpants." "I think we all have those days," Claire replied, her cheeks flushing slightly at the thought. "Some days I feel like I'm winning if I have time to brush my hair." "Just a mom keeping it real," he said, his expression sincere. "I have to say, though, you look more than put together to me." His compliment sent a flutter through Claire, and she fought the urge to brush off the compliment with a laugh. Instead, she met his gaze, her heart racing with an unexpected thrill. "Thank you, but it's the coffee from the new shop that keeps me going." "Ah, so that's the secret," he exclaimed, an amused grin spreading across his face. "Maybe we should take a field trip there sometime and compare notes on caffeine levels." "I'm not sure if I could handle the competition," Claire teased, feeling a rush of warmth from their chemistry. "But I might be open to it. You know, for the sake of research." "Research, huh?" Jake leaned closer, his voice low and playful. "I like the sound of that." Just then, a commotion erupted from the direction of the school. Claire turned just in time to see a group of children pouring out the doors, Ethan and Mia among them. They dashed toward the minivan, laughter trailing behind them like a banner of childhood joy. Looks like the morning chaos has officially begun, she said, glancing back at Jake. I'd better get going before the fun escalates. Of course, Jake replied, a hint of reluctance in his voice as if he, too, was loath to break their connection. It was great meeting you, Claire. I hope we can continue our caffeine-infused research sometime. Definitely, she agreed, holding his gaze a moment longer than necessary. The world around them seemed to fade again, and for the briefest moment, all that existed was the promise of possibility that hung in the air. As she turned to walk away, Claire felt a flutter of hope stirring within her. The prospect of a new friendship, something more, made her heart race. Life had been so heavy, but now, with a small spark of excitement igniting within her, she felt lighter. Hey, Claire, Jake called after her, causing her to turn back. Do you have a phone number? I'd love to arrange that coffee date. Claire hesitated, an old fear creeping into her mind, reminding her of the complexities of her life. But she also remembered her longing for human connection, the warmth of companionship that had been missing for so long. She bit her lip, unsure for just a moment before nodding. Sure, she fumbled for her phone, pulling up her contact list while Jake took a step closer. The air grew thick with anticipation as she handed him her phone. Got it, he said, tapping away before handing it back. I'll text you and we can figure out when works best. Sounds perfect, Claire replied, her heart fluttering with excitement. I look forward to it. As she climbed into the minivan, she felt a rush of warmth spreading through her. She locked the door and caught a final glimpse of Jake, who was now speaking to another parent but kept glancing back at her with that same charming smile. Mom, did you see me? Ethan's voice broke through her thoughts as he excitedly climbed into the backseat, pulling Mia along with him. I did, you were amazing out there. Claire replied, her heart still racing from the encounter with Jake. Mia chimed in, her eyes sparkling. Did you see the new playground equipment, Mom? It's so cool. Can we go after school? Of course we can go. Let's celebrate your first day back, she said, her heart swelling with love for her children. Yet, as she pulled out of the parking lot, she couldn't shake the thought of Jake. The memory of their shared laughter lingered in her mind, a flicker of hope igniting where darkness had once lingered. She wasn't just a mom anymore. She was Claire, a woman learning to navigate the complexities of life and love once more. As she glanced back toward the school, a smile crept onto her face, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of possibility blooming in her heart. It was one of those golden afternoons in Willow Creek, where the sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the streets and blanketing the town in a soft, inviting light. Claire sat at her kitchen table, her laptop open but her attention diverted. The aroma of freshly baked cookies wafted through the air, mingling with the faint sound of children's laughter from the backyard. Mia and Ethan were outside, their voices rising in a playful chorus as they chased each other in circles, the remnants of their school day quickly forgotten. Claire smiled, her heart swelling with affection as she watched them through the window. They had such a beautiful bond, one that reminded her daily of the joys of motherhood. Yet, in the back of her mind, the memory of her morning encounter with Jake lingered, a soft whisper of excitement stirring within her. Mom, come see, Mia shouted, her high-pitched voice breaking Claire's reverie. Claire stood up, stretching slightly before heading outside. As she stepped onto the porch, the warm breeze tousled her hair and her heart felt light, buoyed by the happiness radiating from her children. What's going on? She asked, feigning ignorance, though her smile betrayed her excitement. Look at our fort, Ethan exclaimed, his eyes wide with pride as he gestured toward a makeshift structure built of sticks and blankets, its entrance adorned with colorful flowers Mia had picked from their garden. We're going to have the ultimate secret club. Claire laughed, joining them in their enthusiasm. A secret club, huh? What's the first rule? No adults allowed, Mia declared dramatically, clasping her hands together in a faux serious manner. That means you have to go back inside. Okay. I'll leave you to your top secret business, Claire said, raising her hands in surrender. But remember, I'm the cookie fairy, so don't forget to come inside for snacks. She stepped back, allowing her children to retreat into their fort. As she turned to head back inside, her phone buzzed on the table, drawing her attention. She picked it up, her heart racing as she saw a notification from Jake. Hey Claire, it's Jake. I was thinking we should definitely plan that coffee date. What does Saturday afternoon look like for you? A rush of warmth flooded her veins, surprising her with its intensity. This was new territory for her, navigating the possibilities of a friendship, or perhaps more, while balancing the demands of motherhood. She chewed on her bottom lip, contemplating her reply. Saturday works. How about 2 p.m. at the new coffee shop? She sent the message, her pulse quickening at the prospect of seeing him again. What had started as a fluke moment had spiraled into something she hadn't expected. When his reply came through just moments later, she could hardly contain her smile. Perfect, I'll see you then, Claire. As the day turned into evening and the last rays of sunshine dipped below the horizon, Claire felt a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. She busied herself with dinner and the nightly routine, but her thoughts often drifted to Jake. She imagined the way his eyes sparkled when he laughed, the warmth of his smile, and the easy banter they had shared. Later that night, after the kids were tucked into bed, Claire stood in front of her bathroom mirror, scrutinizing her reflection. She hadn't been on a proper date, or even a casual outing, since David had passed, and the thought of venturing back into the world of flirtation felt daunting and exhilarating all at once. You've got this, she thought, splashing water on her face and forcing herself to smile. After all, it was just coffee. Saturday arrived with a mix of excitement and dread. Claire spent the morning cleaning the house, the familiar rhythm of chores grounding her nerves. With every swipe of the broom and every dish washed, she reminded herself that this was her reality now, a life filled with moments both big and small, and that she deserved a little joy too. As the clock edged closer to 2, she dressed carefully, pulling on a soft, navy blue sweater that complemented her eyes and a pair of well-fitted jeans. She added a light touch of makeup, enough to enhance her features without feeling overdone. Glancing in the mirror once more, she felt a flicker of confidence. Okay, Claire. Just coffee, she whispered to herself, shaking her hands out in an attempt to release her nervous energy. The drive to the coffee shop felt like a blur, her heart racing with each passing moment. The small cafe nestled on the corner of Main Street had quickly become a local favorite, with its charming decor and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. As she parked her van, she took a deep breath, the warmth of the afternoon sun washing over her. Stepping inside, she scanned the room, her stomach fluttering when she spotted Jake near the back. He looked effortlessly handsome, leaning casually against the wall, a steaming cup cradled in his hands. The moment their eyes met, a smile broke across his face, and Claire felt her heart skip. He wore a fitted gray sweater that highlighted his broad shoulders, and his hair was slightly tousled, giving him an air of relaxed charm. Hey there, he greeted, making his way toward her. You look great. Thanks, you too, she replied, a small blush creeping up her cheeks. The warmth of his presence was magnetic, and for a moment she lost herself in the depths of his inviting gaze. They settled into a cozy corner table, the sounds of the cafe enveloping them. The barista called out orders, laughter rang between friends, and the soft clinking of cups created a comforting ambience. As they sipped their drinks, Claire felt the initial nerves begin to dissipate. replaced by the familiar, exhilarating feeling of connection she had missed for so long. "So, how's the single dad life treating you?" Claire asked, leaning in slightly, intrigued by the man across from her. Jake chuckled, running a hand through his hair. "It's interesting, to say the least. Oliver is a whirlwind of energy. One minute he's trying to convince me to let him stay up past his bedtime, and the next, he's building the most elaborate Lego structures I've ever seen." Claire smiled, picturing the scene. "Sounds like he keeps you on your toes. How's he adjusting to the new school?" "Pretty well, I think. He's made some friends already, but he's still getting used to the whole new kid thing. It took me a while to convince him that it's okay to be a bit nervous about it," he said, a hint of pride in his voice. "How about your kids?" "They're doing great," Claire replied, her eyes lighting up. "Ethan is in the 4th grade and loves soccer. Mia is starting to get interested in arts and crafts, so our kitchen has turned into a colorful explosion of glitter and paint. They're a handful, but I wouldn't change a thing." Jake nodded, his expression softening as he listened. "You sound like an amazing mom. I admire that you're juggling everything on your own." The compliment sent a wave of warmth through Claire, and she felt a flutter of gratitude. "Thank you, but it's not always easy. Some days I just feel overwhelmed by it all." "I get that," Jake agreed, his gaze steady. "You know, it's okay to admit that it's hard. I think a lot of people forget that parenting isn't all sunshine and rainbows." Claire met his eyes, and for a moment, the world around them blurred into a gentle hum. There was a depth in Jake's expression that felt unusually comforting, as if he understood the nuances of life and loss. "I've spent so much time focusing on the kids, I almost forgot what it feels like to just enjoy life," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Meeting you today feels like a breath of fresh air." Jake's smile widened, and there was an intensity in his gaze that made Claire's heart race. "I'm glad to hear that. Life has a funny way of bringing people together when they least expect it." Their conversation flowed easily from one topic to another, each word weaving a tapestry of connection that felt both exhilarating and new. They shared stories, laughed at their parenting mishaps, and discovered small details about each other that spoke of shared experiences and mutual understanding. As the afternoon wore on, Claire felt a weight lift from her shoulders. She hadn't realized how much she craved this kind of companionship, this kind of connection. With each moment spent with Jake, the heaviness of her past began to feel a little lighter, as if she could finally breathe again. "Okay, tell me," Jake said, leaning forward conspiratorially. "What's the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you as a mom?" Claire laughed, the sound bright and full of life. "Oh, there are so many. But I think the most recent was when I accidentally sent Mia to school wearing her shirt inside out and backward. She didn't realize until her teacher pointed it out during circle time. I swear, I wanted to crawl under a rock." Jake's laughter rang through the cafe, warm and infectious. "That's classic. I can totally relate. One time, I took Oliver to school with chocolate smeared all over his face from breakfast and didn't even notice until I was halfway home." I see. Claire could hardly contain her laughter, the sound bubbling up from her chest as she leaned back in her chair, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Oh, that's priceless. Kids have a way of keeping us on our toes, don't they?" Jake chuckled, a hint of mischief dancing in his eyes. "They really do. Just the other day, Oliver asked me how many days until his birthday. When I told him it was still months away, he launched into a full-on meltdown, complete with tears and dramatic gestures. I think he thought the world might end if he couldn't celebrate on a whim." "That's so relatable," Claire said, shaking her head fondly. "Mia throws fits about wanting to wear her favorite dress to bed. I mean, who doesn't want to sleep in a sparkly princess gown, right?" She added, rolling her eyes playfully. Exactly. I think they believe bedtime is a conspiracy against fun, Jake replied, a warm smile tugging at his lips. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, filled with laughter and shared anecdotes that made Claire feel lighter, as though each story they exchanged chipped away at the weight she had been carrying. As they continued to talk, Claire felt her apprehensions fade away, replaced by the warmth of connection. The way Jake listened, his eyes focused and engaged, made her feel seen and valued. It was refreshing, intoxicating even, to share this kind of banter with someone who understood the joys and struggles of parenting. Do you remember the last time you had a day just for you? Like no kids, no responsibilities? Jake asked suddenly, his expression shifting into one of genuine curiosity. Claire paused, her brow furrowing slightly as she thought. Honestly, no, it feels like ages ago. I used to love going out with friends, just being spontaneous. But ever since, since losing David, it's been hard to find that time for myself. Jake's gaze softened and he nodded in understanding. That makes total sense. It's tough to carve out space for ourselves when we're in the thick of parenting. I can't imagine what you've been through, but you deserve a break, Claire. Even if it's just an hour or two to recharge. I know, but there's always this little voice in the back of my head, you know. It tells me I should be doing more for the kids, that I shouldn't be so selfish. Claire sighed, running a hand through her hair in frustration. It feels like I'm constantly battling this guilt. That guilt can be relentless, Jake said, his tone empathetic yet firm. But you're not being selfish. Taking care of yourself is an essential part of being a good parent. You show your kids how to live fully by allowing yourself to do the same. His words resonated deeply with her, and she felt a flicker of hope ignite within. You're right, she said, her voice slightly firmer. I need to stop feeling guilty about wanting to feel alive again. A comfortable silence enveloped them as they both took sips of their drinks, the air charged with something unspoken. Claire's heart raced as she met Jake's gaze, the intensity of his expression sending a shiver down her spine. I mean, look at us, he said, breaking the silence with a playful smile. Here we are, two parents trying to navigate the chaos, and somehow we've ended up sharing a coffee date. Maybe we should celebrate that. Claire laughed lightly, the sound blending with the ambient chatter of the cafe. I like that idea. We should toast to surviving the morning drop-off, she suggested, raising her cup in mock salute. Cheers to that, Jake exclaimed, mimicking her gesture as their cups clinked together lightly. And here's to the unpredictable nature of parenting. May we embrace the chaos with laughter and a little bit of grace. They both took a sip, and Claire felt a warmth spread through her, not just from the coffee but from the connection they were building. In that moment, she realized how much she had missed this, how much she had longed for genuine conversation, for laughter that didn't feel forced, and for the thrill of getting to know someone new. So what do you like to do for fun when you get the chance? Jake asked, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. Claire's mind raced as she considered her answer. Honestly, I used to love hiking and being outdoors. There's something about being surrounded by nature that calms me, she admitted, a soft smile gracing her lips as she thought back to those blissful days. Now, I mainly find joy in baking with Mia or kicking a soccer ball with Ethan. It's not quite the same, but it has its own magic. I can relate to that, Jake said, leaning back in his chair, his casual demeanor making it easy to forget the weight of the world outside. Oliver and I love exploring new parks. It's our little adventure time. But I've also found that I enjoy cooking more than I ever expected. There's something satisfying about creating a meal together. Claire laughed, picturing Jake in the kitchen, perhaps donning an apron while Oliver attempted to help him by dumping ingredients in a bowl. I can see that. Cooking can be just as chaotic as baking, especially when kids are involved. "Tell me about it," he said, shaking his head in mock despair. "The other day, I let Oliver pick the recipe, and he chose something that required a mountain of ingredients. By the time we were done, we had flour everywhere, and the kitchen looked like a disaster zone. I bet it was a masterpiece," Claire teased, her eyes dancing with amusement. "And a great memory, I'm sure." "Absolutely," Jake replied, a nostalgic smile creeping onto his lips. "In the end, it's those messy moments that stick with you the most. I want Oliver to look back and remember the fun we had, not just the perfect meals." Claire felt her heart swell at his words, recognizing the sincerity behind them. It was evident that Jake was a dedicated father, and the passion he had for being present in Oliver's life radiated from him like warmth. "You're a great dad, Jake," she said, her voice sincere. "It's clear that you really care about making memories with him." "Thanks, Claire," he replied, his expression softening. "That means a lot, especially coming from you. I see how much you cherish your kids, too." Their conversation flowed again, weaving in and out of light-hearted stories and deeper reflections. Claire felt invigorated, as if a part of her that had been dormant for so long was awakening. Every laugh they shared and every glance exchanged felt electric, igniting a spark she hadn't felt in ages. As the afternoon began to wane, Claire glanced at her watch and realized how much time had passed. "Wow, we've been here for quite a while. I should probably think about getting back home before the kids decide to turn the house upside down." Jake nodded, a hint of reluctance in his eyes. "Yeah, I should check on Oliver too. I'm sure he has plans to turn the living room into a football field or something." Claire laughed, the sound genuine and warm. "We can't have our homes destroyed just yet." Jake leaned forward, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "But wouldn't it be a fun experiment to see how far they'd take that?" "Now you're talking my language," Claire replied, her heart bursting with excitement at the prospect of their budding friendship. As they stood to leave, Claire felt a twinge of disappointment that their time together was coming to an end. The connection they had formed felt special, and she didn't want it to fizzle out. "Hey," Jake said, pulling out his phone. "Let's not let this be a one-time thing. I'll text you, and we can plan another coffee or maybe some kind of adventure with the kids." "Yes, please," Claire replied, her heart racing at the thought of more moments spent with him. "I'd love that." With one last shared smile that lingered between them, Claire stepped out of the cafe and into the warm afternoon sun, her spirits soaring with the possibilities ahead. She couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning, a beautiful new chapter, not just for her, but for her children as well. As she drove home, her heart sang with hope and anticipation. It was a feeling she hadn't felt in far too long, and for the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine the future, filled with laughter, with connection, and perhaps even with love.